Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? It's Thursday. It's 7 p.m. Eastern. That means here on Ready Check Radio, it's time for the Relic Grind, our Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix podcast. Enix, whatever. Pick one. I notice I kind of go back and forth on it too. 99% of the time it's Enix, but every once in a while an Enix sneaks in there. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man, as always, and this is episode 155. Got some fun stuff to talk about today as my dog keeps... Okay, yeah, you saw everybody pre-show. If you're watching the show on YouTube or over on ReadyCheckRadio.com, thank you so much. Appreciate it. If you're listening on YouTube or on Audible, Spotify, any of the podcast platforms, thank you much as well. Thumbs up, subscribe, all the fun stuff that feeds the algorithm. But most importantly, tell a friend. And if you decide you want to chime in live with chat, join us, twitch.tv/ReadyCheckRadio. Joining me to go over all kinds of fun stuff today, the one, the only, talking to us from the future, Mr. Paul Berlin, a.k.a. Flynn. What's up, boss?
Yes, it's officially Friday in the UK.
It is.
We're
TGIF for
closer to Cactomania 2.
Yes, I've seen the new artwork. Are you going to be attending?
Controversy around that artwork.
Yeah, a little bit. Are you going to be attending?
Not sure where money is right now, as much as I would love to, because they're doing the 2-deck format this year. So for people who didn't get to go to Worlds, they can still get our 2-deck enjoyment. Go for a belt. Do some side games. Are
you doing a real 2-deck format, or are you doing Final Fantasy TCG's 2-deck format?
TCG's 2-deck format.
Oh, so yeah. So it's bring 2 decks, but have fun with one at a time. Have fun with one at a time. It is that time. We're closing in on Worlds. The new set is out, so I brought a special guest, a friend of mine, Mr. Corey Kunkel, a.k.a. Zick. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me.
No, I was delighted that you were able to accept. For those of you that have followed us for a while, and particularly on the TCG, FFTCG side of things, you all know Corey. Even if you don't know Corey, he's the friend I've told the story of. He's like one of my longest FFTCG besties. And we met totally on accident because I was there to meet somebody else that happened to be named Corey, and just saw Corey messing with Final Fantasy cards and sat down like, hey, how you doing? And he's like, who the fuck are you?
Good times.
Well, why don't you give everybody a little introduction? I mean, obviously, Final Fantasy fan in the background there. Some might know the Zick 3 name from GDQ even. Give the audience a little bit of a Corey intro before we get started with the stuff.
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Zick. I've been a fan of Final Fantasy for as long as I can remember. I do lots of speedrunning, lots of things in the speedrunning world, and a lot of Final Fantasy stuff. So I've done speedruns of Final Fantasy at the Games Done Quick events for Final Fantasy IV and Final Fantasy V, respectively. But I've also messed with other games like Final Fantasy 9 and 10, for example. 9 being my favorite, of course. And I also play a ton of Final Fantasy TCG.
You want more Tantalus members, that's for sure.
They're coming. It's in the
next,
next coming. I believe.
They're coming. Before we get to our set review, since you are a Final Fantasy XIV fan as well, I thought it'd be okay to add a little something to the show notes. Obviously, not a lot going on there. We talked about some things last week. We got the Fanfests coming up, where we'll expect to see new expansion stuff. But kind of what hit the internet by storm, and Yoshi-P just has a way of doing this, right? He always has a way of saying something that either A, he probably shouldn't have said and gets yelled at behind the scenes for it, or B, says something to a Japanese outlet that then gets translated into English and may get a little misunderstood in the translation. Now, which one of these two this is, I don't know. It remains to be seen at the moment. But the internet is ablaze, guys, with an interview with a Korean outlet where Yoshi-P said Final Fantasy is now moving forward. Again, at the mercy of translate here. I'm doing the best I can on this one. Final Fantasy XIV is now moving forward into its next decade. We have a fan festival planned, and we have some pretty big announcements lined up with the determination to embark on a second iteration. We're rethinking everything from scratch to evolve the game with new goals. And the internet has basically decided that this could mean anything from adjustments to the glamour system, the real endgame, or the next Final Fantasy MMO. Like, it depends on where on that spectrum you want to fall, Corey, because the internet is all over the place.
We are dropping the moon again.
Yeah, exactly. Delamood on its way, gonna wipe us all out. I've seen speculation, like I said, I'm not being facetious when I say the speculation runs that wide a gamut here of a Realm Reborn type reset, of an engine upgrade, of an entirely new MMO, of adjustments to the way the team thinks, about certain pieces of content, Flynn. It is all over the place. And I'm not sure where I fall. I think I have an idea of where I fall on this. And again, we're just speculating. But what did you think, Flynn, of the initial comments and then the internet's reaction?
First of all, Yoshi-P loves corporate speak and riddles. And this man needs to sometimes think about the context he's in. Because this kind of stuff, as you're saying, it just goes all over the shop. My brain went, okay, we can dawntrail in the next patch. He might lock us off into a brand new shard. Final Fantasy VIII coded, time compression, bring back Dalamood. It can happen.
Yeah, but he's always been methodical, right? And when he accidentally says something, Corey, in quotes, right? Air quotes, quote, quote, quote. When he accidentally says something, it's never really an accident. And it's no secret that Dawntrail has been kind of a lull for a lot of the fan base. Whether you absolutely love the expansion or you hated the expansion and his characters, I'm not talking about that portion. But as far as the activity of players in-game, it has been a little bit of a downturn for the game. And Square Enix has recognized it and acknowledged that. And acknowledged that they may have to move in a slightly different direction, maybe a direction that they weren't originally planning in, but have since come to. So I feel like this is almost like I have to say something like this to get the hype build up. But is there anything really behind it that's going to meaningfully match with what he said? I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like, are they, how much do they think about, I guess, like future stuff? Like, are we talking, we're going to plan another whole arc like Hydaelyn Zodiac is, or a story that spans multiple expansions? And how much do they think about the past and improving past content and the things associated with those, or are they always just going to be more feature-based, future-based, those sorts of things?
Yeah, because it's kind of like, what do you realistically expect to change, right? To the degree that some people are running with this statement. I don't think this is a reference to a new Final Fantasy MMO. I just don't.
No, I don't
do I think they're working on one, or at least talking about working on one, or maybe concepting one? Of course. They'd kind of be silly if they weren't looking at, do we want to do another one? And if so, what would that be? But I don't think we're on the verge of any type of announcement like that anytime soon. I don't think we're on the verge of an engine upgrade, because I feel like we would have known about that one by now. They've just sunk the time and the investment into the graphics upgrade, so I don't expect an offshoot to a new game. I don't expect a full reboot of... So, like, my expectation just, like, keeps falling down. And we'll hear... He's alluding to FanFest having some key announcements. Well, yeah, it should. It always does. Like...
Yeah, how much of this is just hyping FanFest, really?
Yeah, like, if you look at what's in the game...
They're trying to hire people still. They keep going, we need to hire more people. If there was anything stupidly major, they said, we've hired a bunch of people, we're working on something big. We would have viewed that outright at this point.
And we do know there's some new feature coming in the .5x series that battle or combat designers have spoken to. We talked about that on the show. So I don't disagree that they're probably adding new bits. What I think is the most interesting is he does kind of allude to the way people play MMOs is different, Corey, from when 14 launched. And things like the caps on Allegan Tombstone, something he pointed out as a specific example, the 450 cap on the current Tombstone at any given time. These types of things that generally were made to keep people playing day in and day out, that is not what our players are showing us they're doing. They're hopping on for half an hour a day to do a certain thing. And how is that thing rewarding? Is it rewarding? And maybe that this is just a frame of mind change for the future, even if it might not be the next expansion directly.
Yeah, and it's interesting with how like he's spoken in the past of how he views the game and MMOs in general, of like not wanting it to feel like a chore, not wanting it to feel like something you need to play every day, and having kind of something for everybody. And it also kind of goes with like, I feel like Final Fantasy XIV is an interesting beast in that it has so many different like groups of players, and that some people solely play it almost like a single player game for just the story, and some people play it just for housing and glamour, and there's so many different branching routes that it almost does open up this discussion of what our target audience is.
Yeah, and to Cal in chat, that's something we've talked about on this show before, right? A game that literally incentivizes you to play every single class on one single character has these arbitrary limits on being able to gear multiple classes in a meaningful period of time for relevant content. So those two ideas kind of conflict with each other and always have. Maybe just more so now that people have had a lot more time to say, there's nothing I want to do right now, Flynn, so I guess I'll go level Bard. And now they have a Bard that they would like to gear here and there. I mean, Bard's maybe a bad example, but pick a different class. Yeah,
it is slowly getting to the point that if for any reason they did tomes that were job specific, you would not be able to get every single piece for every single job by the next patch rotation. It is getting ridiculous. We've complained about 450 tomes since Heavensward. It is way past due for overall of some kind. Like, I know we've suggested, your first set of gear, full price, half price it for the rest. Go for it. Then add in, cosmetics, mounts, whatever else as an incentive.
This is definitely one of those statements from Yoshi-P that has fallen into a bucket for me that some other statements have had, and it's, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not anticipating some massive change here. We've spoken ad nauseum on this show about housing is a mess and needs to be fixed. The glamour system is a mess and needs to be fixed. Inventory management is a mess and needs to be fixed. Dungeon / non high-end rating content being more rewarding needs to be fixed. Repetitive content, variant and criterion dungeon, stuff like that, needs to be fixed and made more rewarding. I hope that's what he's referring to, this mentality of how do we make as much content as much as possible interesting and worth doing. And in this discussion, I think that's where they're headed, Corey, because he does give the example of cosmetics, mounts, things like that being a much bigger deal than the game has ever really treated them. Yes, they're there. Yes, there's a lot of them, but the game's always been about gear. And I think he's alluding to the fact that that's not your primary MMO player anymore.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what they do. Like I said, I agree with you that I don't think it's like as gonna be like as crazy as everybody seems to be kind of making it out to be at the moment, but it's interesting because we are seeing a little bit of even that mentality change with the things like, I know the big announcement, a little while back was, being able to glamour gear across any of your classes, which was something that was like a year ago that was like absolutely not, that ruins the
Yeah.
vibe of the game, and we're seeing that mentality shift now.
It'll be interesting. We'll have to watch FanFest. To Cal, Yoshi-P be having shower thoughts in public. Yeah, probably to this one on a little bit of an extent. FanFest will be interesting because Flynn, I think you're right. Like, even if it was inadvertent, I think he's set an expectation for FanFest now that if he doesn't deliver on, people are going to be upset about. We'll
yeah,
of course.
He is very much turning into Sean from No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
Just like, we have this idea and this idea. It's like, come on, as the Calpo, Overworld Primals, what happened to Los?
Right? Before we move on and talk about FFTCG's newest set, I did throw this in here because I thought this was a little interesting on the Square Enix front. Jacob Navok, former director of Square Enix for like a decade, I think. Like, he was there for a while, dealt with a bunch of the executives and things. Jacob's kind of been going off on Twitter lately. And this is definitely somebody that knows their stuff, right? Whether you agree with their opinions on certain things or not, that's fine. But you are talking to somebody that at least knows their stuff when it comes to, in particular, the game industry, and then even more in particular, Square Enix. And he said something on one of these Twitter rants. Go check it out. About AI, something we spoke about last week, and Square's love of wanting to use AI in things and future plans. He says, Gen Z loves AI slop, does not care. The upcoming generation of gamers are Bane in Dark Knight Rising saying, you merely adopted the slop, I was born in it. Activision isn't shying away from AI, neither is Arc Raiders. The tipping point has been reached, and basically says consumers generally do not care about AI slop being in their games. While people that talk on gaming podcasts may, your general consumer doesn't, Corey. Dead on or dead wrong? As we see a cattail.
Yes, we have a cattail. It's almost a sad thing because it's like the dislike of AI in a lot of these mediums sometimes feels like a vocal minority, and let's just say I hope that has nothing to do with our big announcement coming up too.
True. Now, he does say in his tweets, and again, he does call out Flynn that he doesn't have any NDA covered knowledge of Square Enix at this point that is influencing his comments. So he doesn't know for sure what they're doing. But he does think that in particular, Square Enix is going to be very careful about its use in flagship products, Final Fantasies, Dragon Quests, stuff like that. But you may see it really take hold in some of their smaller offshoot titles or even their mobile titles that last 13 months and then disappear.
Yeah, we have to remember the greatest bit of AI systems they've released. Oh, wait, it shut down. Symbiogenesis. Yeah, that shut down, didn't it?
Yeah, that went ahead and closed, too. I didn't put this one in the show notes, but it is something we discussed a few shows ago, maybe a month ago, Flynn, when it comes to Square Enix and Genshin Impact. Because he does say, I don't understand how Square Enix didn't win that market. Like, how was Genshin Impact created by anybody other than Square Enix? Like, that should have been a Square Enix title. They should own that market share, and they totally don't. Corey, we speculated on the show before, like, how is that a market that even if they didn't create Genshin Impact, how are they not in that gacha market on PC with a quality title instead of like the mobile gachas they've tried to do before?
Yeah, that's really surprising, especially looking at even a game like Honkai Star Rail. Like, you look at that game and you're like, I remember seeing that game for the first time being like, isn't this like FF10? But in like, and then I'm like, yeah, why isn't this something that Square makes when, anytime they even try to make something relevant on mobile, it dies before you can even get into it.
Well, that also may have to do with mutual friends of ours spending $700 to try to pull Noctis's 5-star weapon, not getting it and charging it back. But
okay, well,
I mean, Yeah. Didn't see it coming. Probably figured it was too late. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. All right, so there's some Square Enix news for you because we're going to move on now and talk about FFTCG. We got Worlds coming up in early December, and we have a brand new set for our Worlds competitors to experiment with ahead of the event. Journey of Discovery already out, came out this past Friday. We've had all of our pre-release events here in the Pittsburgh area. A lot of fun to be had. Well, some fun. Well, a little bit of fun. We met. We had some pre-release games. We played some pre-release games. Flynn, did you get a chance to hit up a pre-release?
Not this time around. Money was a bit tight, so I focused on grabbing the starter deck since it got delayed over here. So it would have been starter decks week later pre-release. Like, I'll get the 2 guaranteed decks for now, and I was going to pull them out before the show, but the boys, they just throw a bulk of me now, and I had 3 booster boxes full of the rares and below given to me. So I've got plenty of cards from this set.
Plenty of cards. Well, we're going to look at 14 specifically the way we do every time a new set comes out. We're going to take the legends in their numerical set order, and we're going to give you some thoughts. And the way we always do this, Corey, is you can rate it however you want. You can look at it through the lens of, I'm only going to rate it on its impact to the meta. I'm going to rate it on how much I personally love and I'm going to use this card. It doesn't matter. The scoring doesn't matter, but it'll be a scale of 1 to 10. And forgive me, chat. I know you can see the show when I show different panels here, but for our podcast listeners, we will read out what the cards do. So we're going to start with a 5 CP Fire Forward Zonde, job Dark Lord, 8k power. When Zonde enters the field, name a job. All the forwards with the name job opponent controls lose all of their abilities until the end of turn. At the beginning of the attack phase, during each of your turns, choose a forward opponent controls, crack it with 9k damage, draw a card, then discard a card. If you discard a card named Zonde by this effect, trigger this auto ability again. That is a shit ton of text, Corey.
Yeah, it's a lot of text. And I don't know how much of it you're actually going to care about. My problem with the card at the moment is just like that first auto ability reads so good, but it also just says, I'm just going to do what I want when you play this card.
Yeah, I'm just going to stack right now. Flynn?
I do like the idea of the draw discard being utilized with, I know a lot of people like to at least run the like backup Fire Zandy. Could be a neat way to get this effect to trigger multiple times, which could be really cool.
Adam says, spoiler alert, meta won't change. Yeah, I don't expect the meta to change a ton going into Worlds. And then by the time the next season starts, we'll have yet another set release just at the beginning of the season. So even if the meta changes, it'll change again before the next competitive season. Hell, that's if we have a competitive season. I don't know what the hell's going on right now. Yeah, Flynn, what do you think of our boy here?
This is the same across a few cards here. Anything at the minute that's calling a job, a naming job, and thinking everything I enjoy to play, it tends to be job focused. Whether it's my Barnabas dominant icons, my first warriors deck, or even my fun black mages. Like, yeah, you just turn off my abilities, you're shutting me down.
It does give you the ability to get a card to hand, right? Get that third card of your turn to hand. And if you happen to have another Zonde, great. And if you don't, you're taking the card off the top of your deck, adding one more option, and then discarding the worst card in your hand that isn't card named Zonde if you don't happen to have one. So I do kind of like that aspect of it. 5 CP for an 8K. Obviously, we look at that as being in a Mott range, so that feels terrible if you spend that 5 and you call out a job and it's like, no, we're going to Mott that. It's almost like, why do you have an enter the field effect? Like, at least let me try to get to the attack phase. I kind of thought, I was talking to one of our mutual friends, Corey, about, what if you just made a Fire Lightning Zonde Ramu deck? Like, that was it. Like, it was just all these Ramus, all these Zondes. It didn't work. Like, it doesn't work, but...
Probably not.
I don't think there's cool. Really... It does sound cool. I don't know. This one doesn't do it for me. And then particularly, in a sealed environment, it was like, yeah, you're useless. Like, I am not. There are 3-drop 9Ks in this set. I'm not putting a 5-drop 8K in my pre-release deck.
Yeah.
That does effectively nothing. I don't know. I don't think he's going to see a lot of play. Maybe the occasional surprise here and there. I'm going to give him a 5. I think he's a neat play space. I don't think he's really something we're going to see a lot of. What about you, Corey?
Yeah, I was thinking around that 6 range. I'll give him a point because the art looks really cool.
It does look sick.
Yeah, it is.
It does look sick. What do you got, Flynn?
Yeah, 5, 6.
5, 6. All right, so we're all in the ballpark. All right. Let's move on to the second fire card, which was kind of the bane of pre-release, flipping from one spectrum to the other here if you happen to pull a fire legend in your pre-release. 4-drop Zeromus, 8K. Zeromus is also card named Zemus in all situations. We've seen that text before. When one or more characters you control are chosen by your opponent's summon or ability, if your opponent doesn't pay 4 CP or a crystal, cancel its effects. So we had to ban Cecil because that 2 tax, that was a bit rough. So here's a fire card with a 4 tax, Corey.
Here's how to make that Sunday a bit better. You have Zeramus on field.
That wasn't why Cecil was banned, by the way. I just think it's funny. I will say this, like right away, that Lilith crystal that's produced in Knights all of a sudden has some value, maybe.
Yeah.
Because most of the time that crystal does nothing. What do you think of this guy, Flynn?
I went up against a version of the 12 that runs this and Locke and Seymour. So that's controlling it, and Zeramus was the bane of my life. It's like, I wanted to wipe your field so I could do things, but Zeramus is there. I have nothing that is just a field target. Everything I have targets something. I haven't got a CP to pay the cost.
Yeah.
Die, Zeramus, die.
Yeah, it's kind of like a good card at all times of the game. Corey. Like, it doesn't have, you sometimes look at cards and you go, that's a late game card. So if you are playing a deck that, an Earth deck or something that's going to have some control and then establish and then take over, that's where that card goes. But I think about this one and I'm like, obviously late game when people are doing this is why Cecil was banned. Okay, Adam. Freaking Adam. I love that dude. If you look at this as an early game play, right? Then it becomes they want to play a forward or a backup that does something and then Amat this. And I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I spent 4. You got an Amat out of your hand. You spent 3 or maybe even 4 if it was early enough and it was just not on curve. And you spent whatever you spent for the forward and the backup. Like, I'm okay with that. Mid-game, this starts slowing you down when resources may not be going your way. Late game, if I'm playing a late game deck, that's exactly where I want to be. And this is making 2 cards in your hand be held for payment at any given point or 4 backups. I'm not saying it's meta warping, but I like that the card actually fits in kind of all phases of the game to some degree without you feeling bad of, wow, if I draw this in my first 2 turns, I'm feeling terrible. I don't think this card fits there.
Yeah. Hey, it's first thing I see looking at this is it's category 4. You know who works in category 4 is our good summoner Raideo, which sounds kind of gross.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if people will start running, like, if we'll see this back and forth of, like, some people slot Zeromus into their decks, so then people start slotting, like, a crystal backup into their deck to counter it, and then people stop using
it's like
Zeromus
a just-in-case measure. Those backups that generate a crystal and do an effect, I think, are the ones we would see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you just so happen to get a crystal as part of the deal, too. So it's not just that. Hey, Martin chat, what's up, my friend? Wants to Kieran into this thing so badly. Oh, my God, I think it just quit.
Like, I had to do a 3-card play to get rid of this card on Monday.
Yeah. In pre-release, it was awful. Like if somebody played this, I think Corey, you actually pulled this in the first event that we
No,
went to.
I played against it in my
Oh,
round
you played
one.
against it. It didn't go well,
10
did it?
for an ace to kill it.
I like this a lot. Again, it's got to go in a very particular type of deck, but I don't think you have to limit it to a type of like an aggro deck or a control deck or a tempo deck. I think you get the opportunity to consider it across the board. I'm going to give it a 7. It has some versatility. It's certainly annoying, and I don't think there's too many bad places where if I'm going to run this in my deck, I don't think there's too many spots where I'm going to be like, I don't want to draw that card. That's the last thing I want to draw now. It may not be what I want to play right then, but I don't think I'm angry seeing this in my hand at any given time. So I'm going to give it a 7. Not meta warping, but I like it. I love the art, and I'm okay with it. What do you got, Corey?
I'm gonna agree with you on the 7. I don't know. It's
a man
just
of
weird.
culture.
It's one of those cards where it's like you said, when this card sticks and it does what it's supposed to do, it will be devastating. But there could also be games where you pay 4 to do nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think I could see it as a card that kind of gets slotted in here and there, tried out in different decks. So I think 7's a fair place for it.
What do you got, Flynn?
Purely because of me having to play against it, I was using Scions. So I had to say free drop.
Oh my god. Yeah, Scions would be a terrible deck to play against this thing.
Into getting Graha from Grave. Pay the free for Lightning the Stoller. Lightning the Stoller, I'm not paying the 4 for. So that fizzles. Giving Stoller haste and FFTCG Stoller. That was how I had to deal with Zeramus. So he's sitting at an 8 because of that. That was my out against him.
I think the only reason I'm not like personally terrified by it is I do a lot of control deck stuff with Earth and
you play Shanto in every deck.
Sometimes Ice. Yeah, with Shanto. Well, I am an Earth. What the fuck am I going to do? He's got to have one in there. But the point being larger, just non-targeted removal, right? Whether it's Shantoto or a 5-drop Hecaton or the slew of other things I got going on, that's just non-targeted removal. But when we get to Ice Legends, we start with the king of ruling questions already. 8-drop Kefka, 9k power. You can pay 1 ice, 1 earth, 1 lightning instead of paying the 8 CP cost to cast Kefka. You can only pay this cost with CP produced by backups. When Kefka enters the field, and this, I'm not going to lie, this took me like 4 times reading through it when it was first shown off, because I'm pretty sure there's some commas that need to be in here that aren't. When Kefka enters the field due to your cast, choose 1 forward opponent controls and up to 1 backup with a cost equal to or less than that forward in your break zone. Break the former and play the latter onto the field. So target a 4-cost forward of your opponents, target a 4-cost backup or less in your break zone, break their forward, play your backup onto the field. Yes, the alternate costing is already triggering a bunch of ruling questions. Corey, I'm going to give you first crack at this one.
I love this card. I'm so excited for this card. I keep thinking of all sorts of Christmas land scenarios where this card would be awesome. And I love like, oh man, I'm excited to try different things with this. Mainly reducing that alternate cost. But yeah, like I think it's just a really cool card, and there's a lot of cool things in this set too that make it easy. Ice, earth, and lightning are kind of elements that just kind of play pretty well together. So I like that in itself. But yeah, I've been looking at things like 5-cost forwards are so prevalent in the game right now that getting a 5-cost backup like a fat chocobo with this thing feels like really cool value.
Should we just grab Tyro here and just throw that out on the field? Here's the dream, right? You target somebody else's Kefka and you bring back your X-Death backup.
Ooh.
There's the Christmas land.
I was on target like a 7-cost Ifrit, and then you play the 7-cost Lesaford backup
There you go.
that reveals 5 and plays another one.
That's so disgusting. That's so gross. You are right though. Like ice, earth, earth, lightning, ice, lightning. If you could find any way to reduce that by 1, then you really make this kind of easy to pay that alternate cost. And by the way, Tilica just happens to be earth, so why not? Why not just do something goofy like that? Flynn, what do you got for the old Kefka here?
I really find him interesting in terms of like the alternate cost of stuff. I'm not sure what colors the deck I have in mind run. It's the one that runs all high cost stuff, Minfilias, Fordan, Ardent.
Oh, like a Verstale deck?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Just the way it's like, some of my expected stuff is now in trash because I've paid the cost. I'll get it back through this guy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough though, because like in a typical type of Verstale deck, you usually aren't running too many backups that actually hit the board. Yeah, that's like I'm running 1 backup or 2 backups at most, and the CP has to be produced with backups. So I think you got to find ways to cheat them onto the field then. And Verstale certainly has ways to kind of get around that, but I think the backup becomes a bit of a problem. I don't know though. I'd have to try it. You may be onto something. I don't know.
It could be one of those cards that get experimented and something rogue and crazy just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think there's like certain obvious things, Corey, you and I have talked about some of them where you're like, well, what if you did this? And in this color, what if you did this? And what if you grabbed that back up? And what if you made it cheaper? I feel like this is going to be the card that somebody breaks. Just absolutely breaks into this is how you can get this bastard for free almost every single game. And you're going to be like, oh my God, that's gross.
If
like,
that card didn't say due to your cast,
right. Right. No free plays getting that ability. No free
and you'd
plays.
Be playing, I know you'd be going back to playing that Une backup that can flicker forwards.
I love that card. I actually just messed with a deck that had it in it again. It's just that it's the turn that you play it that kills you. It's the turn that from there on, it's fun. But the turn you spend 6 on a backup and get nothing, you're just kind of like, oh, I hate this game. I'm going to give this dude, Flynn, you get to go first this time. Sorry.
I think because of his potential, I'm going to give him a 7.
Okay. From a newish player perspective, giving it a 7. Where are you coming in, Corey?
I'm going to give him an 8 because he's cost 8.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I can see the 7. I don't disagree with it. I'm going to give him an 8 just because I have some ideas I want to mess with. And then I might come back and say, hey, by the way, he was a 6. Like, that could very well be the case. But I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm going to give him an 8. Amart in chat saying, I expect someone to play this at Worlds. I wouldn't be surprised there. If you see somebody messing with it at Worlds. Next up, the other ice legend is our boy Locke. Yet another card name Locke. 2 CP, 5K, forward. When Locke enters the field, your opponent draws a card, then randomly discards 1. When your opponent discards 1 or more characters due to your summons or abilities, choose 1 character, dull it, and freeze it. When your opponent discards 1 or more summons due to your summons or abilities, draw a card. All 3 of those are separate auto abilities, just for those listening on the podcast version. All 3 are separate. Obviously, Cat 6, Treasure Hunter, Locke. We get a lot of decent card named Locke to mess with. Is this another decent one, Corey, or is this kind of a lesser Locke?
This card's neat. It's very versatile, and so it's why I don't think you care that it has that name clash, because I think the decks you're gonna play this in aren't the decks you would really care about other card name locks for the most part.
So you're not running him in your Cat 6, but you're running him in your discard deck.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
You want to really take advantage of those auto abilities more than just when he enters, I would think.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with you. Like if you're running a specific Cat 6 build of a deck, I don't think this is the lock for you, and you don't care that it's not, because yeah, there's a little bit of discard in that deck depending on a few choices you may make, but you're not going to capitalize off of him, so you don't really worry about it too much. That needs 2, right? Like if you can turn 2 a Biblos and then turn 3 a lock, you spent 4 CP over 2 turns to discard a card, get a Dull Freeze, maybe get a second Dull Freeze, maybe get a draw, and then maybe get another draw, right? Because these things don't trigger once per turn.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you start stacking a discard or 2 on the same turn with a lock on the field, you're just getting a ton of value out of it. You've got to... And it's one of those cards that, like, if I'm playing against it, I really don't want to waste removal on this little punk ass, but I have to.
Yeah.
I have to. Flynn, do you like your Amano boy art here?
Oh yeah, absolutely gorgeous. Do you know what's even more fun than having Lock on field? Having his buddy that's a hero from the set, Seymour Guado, on the field at the same time.
Yeah, Seymour's gross, by the way. Not a legend, so we won't be talking about him, but that
But
card
those
is
two together
fucking gross.
shut me down for 4 turns. For 4 turns. Seymour attacks. Your opponent discards a card. Dull Freeze.
I don't think you're having fun with this set yet, based on your Zeromus playing and your Seymour playing. I don't think you're having fun yet.
Seeing new stuff come straight out of one where Kamiko went, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I played Seymour pre-release, and I was like, oh, this card's pretty good. I was like, I'm going to play it and have you discard a card. And my opponent's like, and what else? I was like, wait, you get 2? I was like, oh, this card's nuts.
Little broken. Corey, you get to rate Lock first.
I get to rate Lock first. I'm going to give Lock a 7. I think it's really because of how generic it is. And I mean, discard stuff always just has a way of somehow either being not a great card or just actually just disgustingly broken. And maybe this is the excuse everybody's been waiting for to try Ice Earth Chaos Arc again, because oh god.
Hey man, shut up. That's still built on my table. Shut up. I keep trying it every set. Yes, I will try it again this set. I just keep envisioning, I'm going to give him a 7 too. I might at some point come back and give him an 8 if I get the dream turn of I have Biblos out, I have Weiss out, I have Werai in my backup line, and I drop Lock. Yeah, and then by the way, just cast Glacia Labolas on over the top. Yeah, that'd be disgusting. I'm gonna give him a 7. Flynn. Flint's like a 1. Fuck this dude.
No, I'm giving him an 8 because of my Barnabas deck. Because I've just realized once I've got the Ever Crisis Seymour on field with Barnabas swing with my first strikes and the extra attack, that lock is triggering constantly.
Yeah. Yep. Next up, we hit our first Wind Legend 7 CP Sky Pirate Vaughn 9K. When Vaughn enters the field due to your cast, select one of the 2 following actions. Search for up to 3 Job Sky Pirate forwards and add them to your hand. No, that is not a reveal. That is just go search for 3 Job Sky Pirate forwards and hand them. Or search for up to 2 Job Sky Pirate backups of cost 2 or less and play them directly to the field. Now, again, you do have to cast him. You can't cheat him in with a play and get that option, but I don't know if that really matters.
They love this design space of
they really do.
A7, get 2 things onto the field.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we saw it with the Gigawool. We've seen it with Volker in the Warriors deck. Like, it just becomes more and more prevalent. Well, Volker doesn't play, but whatever. You know what I mean.
7 CP, get a lot of value.
Yeah, get a ton of value. Get a ton of value. And this is another one. The only thing I think kind of struggles with this card, at least in my mind, is the fact that it is so specific to Sky Pirate, and they put the name Vaughn on it.
Yeah.
I think depending on what your Sky Pirates deck, because obviously you're only putting this in a Sky Pirates deck, or that very rare time that you might use Sky Pirate backups to color fix a different deck by you turning on Philo's ability to pass multiple colors to the other Sky Pirates. If you're doing that, this kind of takes you off of backup Vaughn being one of the options in that chain, though, so it's a little weird. So if you are running a Sky Pirates deck, there's arguably better Vaughns in almost every scenario. Not all, but almost every scenario. So while I think he's neat, I'm probably going to give him like a 6 because I think the name is the worst thing about him for what this card wants to do, Flynn.
Yeah. The biggest gripe I have with this game is them reprinting the same name card. And like, I kind of wish, right, this is the farm from Revenant Wings. Can we just put an RW in his name just so we don't name clash, or we might be able to experiment a little more?
Corey, got any insight on your boy here? I mean, I know our resident Sky Pirate friend looked at it and was like, cool, but doesn't fit my Sky Pirate deck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to say it, back off that. I mean, this could have been Baku. This could have been Baku that got 2 job Tantaluses and played them onto the field. But yeah, I agree that there's just so many. We're at the point where like somebody goes, I want to build Sky Pirates, and you go, okay, step 1, pick a Vaughn, because that determines what kind of Sky Pirate deck you're building at this point. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think I have to give him a 5. I don't know if I think the text is really good. I just don't know if I believe in the card.
So that's a 5 and a 6. Flynn, cap it off. What's the score?
5.
A 5 for you as well. Moving on to the other wind legend. Amart saying you have a base take there, Corey. The other wind legend is a bit more interesting in my mind. We'll see if it is in yours as well. And that's 5-drop wind Graha Tia, a forward of 8k power. More, all these legends have so much fucking text. When Graha Tia enters the field from your... Yeah, seriously. We don't want to do keywords. When Graha Tia enters the field from your hand, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck and then return them to the bottom of your deck in any order. You don't get to take any of them. We're just looking at the elements that were represented in those 5 cards. If there were 3 or more different elements among the revealed cards, you get to draw 2 cards. If there were 5 or more during this turn, the cost required to cast your next card is reduced by 4. And if there were 8 or more, all elements in the game, also remove all the characters opponent controls and all cards in your opponent's break zone from the game. And by the way, those are stacking. There is no instead, right? So if you reveal 5, you get to draw 2 and then have your next cast reduced by 4 as well. So there is no do this instead based on those. So yeah, kind of gross. Obviously, that last ability there is like Christmas land bullshit, right? You need to have like 4-color Warrior of Light, a light card, a dark card, and then either an ice card and a lightning card, or hit an ice lightning card in there, in those last 2. So you have to have a really particular build and get incredibly stupid lucky. And when somebody does it, I'm going to laugh. Like, I'm going to enjoy it. But I'm looking at this more for that 3 or more and that 5 or more, obviously. I think there are a few different decks that could really consistently hit that 3 and 5 mark. And are those effects, to me, worth paying 5 to get this 8K on the field? I think so. Because the cost reduction there also doesn't say can't become 0. So my 5 spend in Graha Tia could turn into what would have been a 9 spend, but I only spent 5, and I drew 2 cards in the process too. So I do think there's some decks, I already have them in 1, although we didn't have Top Deck Locals this past weekend, so I didn't play it. I already have them in 1, definitely one I'm going to mess with. What do you think, Corey?
I mean, that last text could say, if there are 8 or more, you win the game. Because if you resolve that, you got it. Like, I'm not gonna even try and come back. You got it.
It is Exodia in a card.
Right. But
Madeo in chat, I'll be selling my collection if someone flips 8 colors against me. And then Adam, I'll buy it.
but yeah, I like
Our
you said,
locals are a lot of fun, gang. I'll tell you that much.
If any of you in chat are going to Worlds, your goal is to win with that Gravity 8 color.
8 color.
Somebody will figure out a way to make it kind of possible, but it's just never going to be consistent. I do like this card, though. Do I get to rate this one first? Corey, did you go? You went first on the last one? Or did I? I don't. I go for it. I'm going to give him an 8. I actually really, really like this card. I'm not quite sure what deck he's going to land in for me. I have him in one already built. There are 2 more that I'm thinking about messing with. No, none of them are trying to capitalize on that 8. Forget that. I don't. That means you have to run light and dark, by the way, right off the bat. Like, you have to have both in the damn deck. So,
yeah.
But I think there's some interesting things that you can do to make this reasonably consistent. It's never a card I think I'm going to run 3 of in most cases, but it is something that I do want to mess with. I'm going to give it personally a 7. It's highly specific to the deck that it's going to be in. You're not going to just see somebody teching this in because they happen to run 4-cost Warrior of Light, although maybe they will, right? If they're running an Ice Lightning build and they have 4-color Warrior of Light in there because they want to cheat it to the field, or they're just using it to turn on Gilgamesh, maybe you do tech one of these in there. You know, good luck getting the wind, but whatever. Ditch the Warrior of Light for the wind. There you go. Your Gilgamesh is on now, too. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'm going to give it a 7, Corey.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to give it a 6. I mean, because I like you said, I do like that in, like you said, the more realistic world, you're going to play this, you're going to reveal 3, and you're going to draw 2 cards. And that's going to feel pretty cool. It's neat. I'd have to take a look at some more cards from the past to see, because it's not enters the field due to your cast. It's just enters the field from your hand. So it'd be interesting. I haven't taken a look at the list to see if there's any cool ways to take advantage of that. But I mean, reveal 5 and then hope you hit what you're looking for isn't always my style of deck, but I could see where it sees some neat plays. So it is a win card, but we'll give it a 6.
Hey man, if you have 5-drop Windwool from Opus 16 on board, you get a card just for this bastard being played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
And then it's protected because it's cost 5 from summons and abilities. Flynn, what do you got?
Yeah, this is definitely screaming like 4-wall and stuff. The rel in chat saying the 12 is my brain was
that's the deck that's built on my table with this card.
The first brood. Because we have the light and dark already in there, we'll we get a 14 package that will help us get out all the 9-cost broods.
Yep, the 12 is the deck that's on my table with this in it. Absolutely. It was the obvious first try at messing with this card. Next up, we hit our first Earth one, our first Earth legend in Cryo 14, kind of the key box art here for this set. A 2-drop 5K forward when Cryo 14 enters the field. If there are 3 or more different elements among characters you control, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Add 1 card among them to your hand. Return the other cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. And for 3 colorless CP and dulling, if the cost used to pay this ability was paid with CP of 3 or more different elements, play 1 character of cost 5 or less. Hey. From your hand onto the field. You can only use this ability during your main phase. So a nice way to take a 5 cost and make it basically cost 3, as long as you use CP of 3 different colors and you don't mind dulling Cryo in the process. Cost 2, but is immediately refunded as long as you have at least 1 damn card in your deck to go ahead and take. Corey, what do you got?
I'm very torn on this card. I think it reads really well. I like cards that replace themselves. It's nice that so long as you have those 3 elements, she's essentially a card that replaces herself. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough right now to think of the home that she fits in because of the name, because of the job. It's like probably not going in a Scion's deck. I'm interested to see where we go with 14 stuff because I like the route they've been going with generic 14 stuff. And we'll see more of that in a little bit. But right now, it still feels like if you're playing 14 stuff, you're still in Scions or the 12. So, and I don't know if this is what you want to be playing in either of those decks, just for space requirements. Well, Scions might be named, but yeah.
Flynn?
Yeah, for the 2-drop, it can, like I said, pay for itself, so it probably just slot into a deck that runs Earth every now and then. But I think it's the synergy with Graha that it'll end up seeing play more than anything else.
Yeah, I had fun with this during the pre-release, but that was it's a different environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not super interested in messing with it. It is one though that I can see somebody going, I know exactly how to break this. I know how I want to break this. But even if you quote unquote break it, right? This isn't technically, like, I start thinking of ways how to break it. And if I want Grahatia, then I'm kind of already in Earth Wind. Wind has a lot of activation. This ability here doesn't rely on being once per turn. So theoretically, I could, if I had the CP of 3 or more different elements, do some goofy stuff like that. But yeah, even if you break it, I don't know how much sheer value it's getting you. And I'm not quite sure yet. So I think I'm going to be with you guys. I have a feeling we're all going to rate this a little lower. But Flynn, what do you got? Go first.
A 4.
A 4? Corey, are you that low, or is that right where you're at?
I was going to go with a 5.
Yeah. I think I could be persuaded on either way. I'll go 4.5. I'll just split the difference between the two of you. And then we get to the card that, I'm going to be honest, when I started opening boxes, I totally forgot was a legend. True story. 5-drop Noctis, 9K. Forward. The job retainer forwards you control gain 2K power. When Noctis enters the field, you may search for up to 2 job retainers and add them to your hand. There's that ability again, except you're only paying 5 for it. And it's not exclusive to forwards or backups. They just have to have job retainers. Has a special for a card named Noctis and 1 Earth. Choose a forward, crack it with 9K. I don't think there's anything terribly bad about the card. I just forgot he was a legend.
Reading him, if you told me he was a rare, I would just go, cool.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Ghoul that said, we just got a full art Noctis last set that was gorgeous, and it was a common. And it's why didn't we use that art?
Art choices in this game are fun.
Yeah. Now, I will say, out of most of our locals, Corey, I think I'm the one that experiments with the retainers the most, mixing them with Warrior of Darkness and things like that. So I do kind of enjoy my retainers. And in looking at the other Nocti that I usually mess with in there, I could see messing with this. It does have that special outlet, so you can mix it up and do a 3 of, 2 of, 2 of, 2 of, and have some flexibility there. Again, I don't think he's a terrible card. Paying 5 for a 9K body and then putting 4 CP back in your hand, that doesn't feel bad, unless you're discarding some powerful stuff there. I don't hate the card. I think it's weird as a legend. It feels more hero to me, particularly with the art. I don't disagree there. Yeah. So I'm going to give it a 7. I think it's a solid card. But it is Square in that you got to be doing something with retainers for it to have any value, and retainers as a whole don't have a high ceiling at the moment. So I don't think you can really, in my head, rate it any higher than a 7, Flynn.
Yeah, I think 6, just purely because it does a generic search. For retainers specifically, but it, like you said, it's not forwards, it's not backups, it's just job. Well, I feel that's nice.
Corey?
Yeah.
Are we all in the same place here?
I was very
like
torn.
This a little more?
No, I think I gotta stick with a 6. It just like you said, like I could see you playing it in a retainers deck. You do have that special, but I don't know. It's fine.
It's a nice way to get into some backups, but again, you're still, if you consider this from a forward perspective or a backup perspective, you're still in the same colors when it comes to retainers, right? You're still in an Earth Wind X deck or an Earth Wind deck.
And the only backup you're looking at is if you're running backup Ignis.
Well, there's a Prompto backup too.
Yeah, but you're probably probably running forward.
yeah. You want the hasty boy. The hasty boy.
Because you want to take advantage of your retainers getting 2k power. So it's like you want to be maxing on a retainer forwards, but he does shine searching backups, which is odd.
Then we get to my favorite element, lightning. Lightning! And we start with 5 drops, 7k power, Idea. When Idea enters the field, you may search for one Category 8 character of cost 2 or less and play it onto the field. At the end of each of your turns, if you control 4 or more Category 8 characters, so forwards, backups, or monsters, draw a card.
Love this card.
Go for it.
I absolutely love this card. My only complaint about this card was I wish we got like one new 8 backup of 2 or less other than alone, but it's still super cool. I really like getting that draw power for it, which is, a really nice ability to get in an element like lightning, even though it's restricted to Category 8 characters. I just think it's a really cool card, getting to search, depending on what kind of 8 build you're doing, getting to search the Sid Kramer, which,
Yeah, that's kind of like the juiciest target for some people.
Yeah, you're getting
the husband-wife combo.
You're getting Sid, you're getting the new Alone, you can get like the new Fujin backup, but it'll still be cool to see. I just don't think, unless you're going second, you're not getting the draw online turn 2. But I think this card's really cool. And like I said, I think having draw power in an element like lightning is powerful.
Yeah, and you and I have messed with Cat 8 decks off and on throughout every set where we've gotten a new Cat 8 card here or there. And I'll tell you, I mean, obviously, if you're playing a Cat 8 deck, getting to that 4-character threshold is not a challenge. But even if you've never played one, I got this idea turned on in pre-release. Like, it's you should have no problems getting this ability turned on unless, like Corey said, you're forced into a really awkward, I got to play this super early and dig myself into a backup because I'm in trouble type scenario. You should have no problem with that 4.
Yeah.
I really like this card. It is Job Witch, which does relate to some of the other cards that were released in this set, maybe not Legends, that we're going to talk about today, but if you haven't taken a look at the whole set, definitely do. And you know me and Adia and me and Lulu. They're just my lightning girls. Big fan of this card. Flynn?
Yeah, I love the artwork, first and foremost. That is such a beautiful styling. And like I said, it's the husband-wife combo. You just get Sid, you color fix for whatever Cat 8 weirdness you want to run. And it's been nice seeing in the Camry Cactuars Discord a few of the boys who always on trying to build something 8 related and all of them going, who, what's this, what's this? And just getting hyped. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I gotta personally give it a 9. I love it, and it's lightning, so the only reason I can't give you a 10 is because I think, depending on play testing a Cat 8 deck, there might be an argument still for the other idea. And because you might want to do Raijin Fujin stuff that ends up paying off more than this go search and draw some cards. I don't know yet. That'll require play testing, but I do think there's a world where maybe the idea we got before this is still the idea you want to play. Maybe you tech this in as a 1-up. So I can't give it a 10 as much as I'd want to, Corey, but I got to give it a 9. What about you?
Okay. I'm going to go with an 8. Solely because, like, I think for what it's going to do with Cat 8, it's going to be really great, but it is restricted to only being in that Category 8 deck. And I think, to go with your statement, the way at least I haven't gotten to do any playtesting with it yet, but I think there's a world where you just run both Ideas and you just play this one early, you get your stuff, and you draw cards until
Yep.
they're sick of it and they kill it, and then you just play the other.
Yeah, Silver Wolf in chat saying, play tested it, the older one is better. And that doesn't surprise me, but I do think there is that argument that, Corey and I've just kind of made where maybe you just tech it in there and it's a turn 2 play to get your second backup in a pinch. Stuff like that. What do you got, Flynn? 1 through 10.
8 for cat 8.
All right. Well, yeah,
Excellent.
all right. That's fair. That's fair. Well done, sir. Well done. The other Lightning legend is category 14. Zoral Jah. Our boy. And I did have this in pre-release. So we'll talk about that too. 3-drop 7K forward. If you control 4 or more category 14 characters, Zoral Jah gains 2K power and haste. That's cool that's a field effect, by the way, because that gets Zoral Jah to 9K in those situations without the chance to mod him while he's 7K on the entry. That is not an enter the field effect. It's just an enter the field effect. It's just a field effect. When Zoral Jah attacks, choose a forward opponent controls, break it, no limitation. And at damage 5, you get that ability again. So at damage 5 or 6, every time Zoral Jah swings, you are breaking 2 forwards. Now, these aren't optional, so that could give you a little pinch here and there, but you're targeting opponents' forwards. You're not forced to ever target your own, but maybe there's a forward on the other side you don't want to break. Could happen. Yeah, not an option there. You have to do it. I love this guy. But I'll let Flynn go first.
Yeah, he's wacky, and I can see him definitely cut on the damage 5 ability being something that can get you back into a game if you're on the back foot. You bring him out at the right time to just reset the board to get you back onto the playing field. Yeah, for the free drop as well, he is fantastic.
Raideo in chat. My king, 10 out of 10, no notes. And I'm not surprised he's saying that. Not surprised. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, I love this card. I think this card has the potential to be a menace. Unlike what we were talking about with Idea, I don't have the problem with the restriction on this card because getting to 4 more category 14 characters is really not hard in most decks. There are so many good...
Yeah, even if you're not specifically making a 14 deck like a Scions or a 12 or something, you could just accidentally build into this.
Listen, okay, this is stupid, but like, I'm a big fan of Warriors. I play a lot of Warriors, and I was looking at it, and I was like, look, I got Wu Klamat. I got Loperit in the backup line. I'm 1 away from this guy being online, and that's silly.
Yep.
Without even trying.
Yeah.
So I love
it. And then obviously when you start thinking about the obvious decks I just mentioned, Scions, the 12, things like that, you're like, Jesus, that thing is, oh my God. Like, that could be an absolute menace.
For 3.
Yeah. And then when you start talking about you're putting it in elements where you do have the capability to do a little self-damage, for those people that want to keep you at 4 just in case you're running this, and you're like, nah, dog, we're going to go to 5. We're going to go ahead and go to 5.
Yep.
And it's lightning. I'm going to go with Taylor. 10 out of 10, no notes.
Oh.
Yeah, 10 out of it is by far, and this is not like a meta analytic. This is not exactly a meta card. But I got to give it the 10 out of 10 because when I look at the entire set, and I try to find the legend I want to start messing with first, it's this guy. 10 out of 10 for me. Corey?
I'm gonna follow you up on that. I'm gonna give him a 10. I think, like you said, if you look at every legend in the set, I think this one just stands out the most as most likely to see play, most likely to see lots of people trying lots of different builds trying to make this thing work, and I just think it's fantastic.
Flynn, Corey has just elected Zoral Jah prom king. He's the most likely to succeed. He's the most likely to become a millionaire. He's 2 10s out of 10s. Is it a sweep, or are you not quite as sold on him?
I give it a spin out of 10. So 10.
Oh my God. You guys are not allowed to do this. All right, we're getting down to it. Silverwolf saying this card is so annoying. Thankfully, it's easy to out, but a pain if you don't have ways to deal with it. Yep. And then we get into our water element of choice here. So if you are feeling splashy, here's what you have to work with this set. We've got the Emperor. So you could probably guess what this card does as soon as you saw it was card named the Emperor. 2-drop 4K forward. When the Emperor is put from the field into the break zone, draw a card. Then you may play, here it is. You knew it was coming. Then you may play one card named the Emperor of cost 5 or less from your hand onto the field. Dull and put the Emperor in the break zone. Choose one forward opponent controls until the end of the turn. It loses all its abilities and 8,000 power. Now, in our locals, we do have a player that kind of off and on messes with different emperors and going and searching them and dropping them on the field the way the other, emperor cards do, particularly trying to get the four color or 4-cost dark emperor out in some situations. And this kind of fits that mold in the water element. I'm just going to be flat out honest. I don't like the whole emperor play cycle when it comes to the way I like playing TCGs. This style does not work for me. It's why I think Ultros decks are funny and they're cute and they're fun to watch pop off, but I would never personally play one. I'm not in with the Emperor's vibe. This might be a killer card for some people, but Corey, I'm just going to go right now and say it's a 3 for me. It's just not my play style at all. And when I watch Creon pop off with it, I'm going to laugh. But other than that, oh well.
I was gonna say there may be some cool combo or situation with this card, and I'm not too proud to admit that I'm not bright enough to see what it is. I just don't like this card as a legend. It just doesn't feel like it to me. I was just kind of disappointed that one of the water legends was this guy. So I'm going lower than you. I'm going 2. I'm just not a fan of this card.
Ooh. Flynn?
I have yet to go up against an Emperor deck of any kind, just from reading this
There's
card.
a reason.
Yeah, the reason my brain is going, right, this card named the Emperor, you're doing some sort of recursive Emperor loop search in your deck. So how much of your deck you dedicate into one card name just to get the deck to work?
Yep.
And that's never fun.
Yep.
So I think I'll go 2.5 to split it.
Watch Ghoul create something that you're just like, fuck, I got to run this. Like,
Right.
It's like people like Ghoul, you're just like, and Creon even, you're just like, oh, shit, I got to play that now. All right, so if you are a water fan and you don't like your 2-drop, how about an 8-drop? How about an 8-drop? Named Sin, a 10k forward for 8 CP. When Sin enters the field due to your cast, you may remove 15 cards from your break zone from the game. They don't have to be water here, at least. They just cards. If you do so, your opponent selects up to 2 forwards they control and up to 1 backup they control. Select as many as possible and put them into the break zone. So you're paying 8 for a 10k body to potentially break 2 forwards and a backup. And I know it's not break. They just move to the break zone, but they get put into the break zone. And it costs you 15 cards from your break zone, Corey.
Yeah, that is a lot. I like the art on this card. It looks really cool, but even though he survives, if I pay 8 and my opponent amots this, I'm feeling bad.
That's true. That is true. I will say this. It specifically uses the word cast, but I feel like this is really a card that they're like, let's give Count to 6 Leo another payload.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like that's the deck he goes in, right? Because I just feel like if you are willing to sacrifice cards from your break zone in a deck that's going to be running expensive water forwards, you're Lena Leviathaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the more sensical play than this. But as a Leo payload in a Count to 6 Leo deck, I think he's kind of nuts, Flynn. I think he's kind of nuts at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's certainly interesting. Like, reading the ability to remove backups, it's like, yeah, I can see this doing a lot, but at 8 costs, this is also that sort of payoff is being able to pay him if he was cost 6, my brain went to the dual color Una. If you're behind, just free cast him when you pay for Una. I would have loved this card more if he was cost 6.
He'd be broken if he was cost 6.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
I agree with you that like paying 8 for it. They have one Limit Break Leo on board, and it's already not going to feel great to pay 8 for this. But if you pay 1 for it with Leo, now we're talking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Leo, Count the 6 Leo plays it for free, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Just
You
get it that
pay
way.
for the Leo and get this.
And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and flicker this Leo. Bouncing back to my hand, and let's try again. I'm going to give this one a 6. I think it's an incredible effect. It is a bit pricey for anything realistically going to be played in the competitive environment. But damn, does it feel good in a Count the 6 Leo deck. And I happen to know somebody that lives in my house that loves a good Count the 6 Leo deck. So I'm going to give it a 6 for my son Torchwick there. Corey, what do you give it?
I'm going to give it a 4.5. Just because, like you said, I think there is only one realistic deck that this card goes in, and that's Leo. And I just don't think it's going to go in any other deck realistically.
Flynn?
I'm gonna give it 6 for the cost I wish it had. And purely because the buddy who taught me this game is trying to experiment with this, so I want to see where it goes.
We got 2 left, our light and dark legends. Our light one is 4-drop Cecil at 9K, who is Dark Knight / Paladin. So if you think back to the Wind Cecil banning, this card might have had a little something to do with the thought process there. Let's take a look and see if the ability is worth it. 0 cost action ability. Choose a forward other than Cecil. Until the end of the turn, Cecil and the chosen forward lose power of any value less than Cecil's power. Units must be 1,000. You can only use this ability during your opponent's turn and only once per turn. Discard a light card. Cecil gains 10,000 power until the end of turn. Okay, that seems pretty nutty. It seems a little convoluted to get there, but it seems a little nutty. Do you like this guy, Corey?
I'm a big fan of light cards, and
you are?
I like trying to stick as many light cards in a deck as possible.
Well, this certainly gives you an outlet.
Yeah, exactly. Anything to get another outlet for these light cards. I think it could be pretty cool. This will be another one of those cards that I really want to sit there and play around and see if you can make it work. I think it's neat.
Flynn, you got plans for the old Paladin Dark Knight here?
He's very interesting. I was reading chat, Amika going, no, they could just do a multi-color light and dark, talking about our Graha pretty earlier. Cecil would have been perfect being a Dark Knight and a Paladin. He could have been our first 2-element light dark. It would have worked. But seeing this in a deck that has Zeramus and, let's say, the 2-drop Orin to do some lightning rodding, and it's just like, yeah, I've got a body you have to get through now. Bring it on. I can see the Paladin plays coming out of the Cecil.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that I think is hard for me to evaluate. It certainly has an interesting effect. It certainly has an effect that can do some serious damage and control a board for an extended period of time if your opponent doesn't have a meaningful way to deal with it very, very quickly. But it's also in light, which just naturally limits the decks that it's going to be in. Now, to your point, Corey, this does allow you to maybe unclog a light clogged hand if you're running something very light heavy, but that relies on this thing being on the field while you are light clogged.
Yeah,
it has to be there first, right? I think this. I don't know if I can give this one a score. I think this one I'm gonna have to watch. If I had to score it right now, I love the ability and the combat trickiness that the ability, like, it throws combat math straight out the fucking window until you've used the ability, right? And then you can start kind of mapping it out. But until your opponent pops that ability, it's all messed up. Don't worry, we'll be giving you a score on Sunday, Taylor. I guess Taylor's messing with Cecil this weekend.
First, folks.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 6. I think it's a neat ability. It comes with the downside of being a light card, which means it's not going to go in every deck. You're not really going to, like, do you build a light-ish deck around this card? I don't know. I'm going to give it a 6, and we're going to see somebody smarter than me come up with something really cool, I think. Or Taylor will play it this Sunday, and he'll go, oh, and I'll never see this card again. One of the two. What do you got, Corey?
I'm gonna give it an 8. I like this
see.
card.
I don't think that's crazy either. I'm like, I don't know. It could be a 10, could be a 3. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's one of those cards that you read it, you're like, the potential feels limitless. It may, like you said, it may just hurt in the deck building world to stick a light card in the deck, but I mean, there's even a world where you never use the discard ability, and it just sits there on the side and says, come on, swing at me. I'll block with something else and make you lose power. Like,
it just screws combat math enough. Like, I agree. Flynn?
I'm going to give it a 6, and my brain's been going to the World Championship decks to fire water monsters. Like, the Princess Goblin in that has no target for its light search. That Cecil could fill that spot quite well.
Yeah, and then, like, even in that deck, right, the Earth Cecil that breaks and searches can go get this guy as a combat trick.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
right?
Wow, yeah.
Like, he was just like, yeah, crack, go ahead, we're going to get rid of this, we'll drag this to the field, and by the way, if you're using it as a combat trick, it's presumably your opponent's turn, and you can only use that ability during your opponent's turn, so, like, it all lines up. I don't know. Taylor's either going to kill us all this weekend with it, or he's going to go and. I honestly wouldn't be surprised in either direction. Oh,
okay.
Last one. Oh,
I just had an interesting idea.
An epiphany.
Yes. So you don't have to choose
in the kitchen. Let's go.
Forward. You can choose your own forward.
You can.
So we can make Water Lightning, Army of One Lightning even greater. Just pull it out, swing, Cecil, make it lose power, pull it back onto the field, swing again.
Jack Garland is the dark card in our last one. 4-drop, 9K. Job Stranger. Funny story about that one in a second. Jack Garland is a card named Garland in all... Medeo. Sorry. Is card named Garland in all situations when Jack Garland enters the field. Name one job. Jack Garland cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities or characters with the named job. And at the end of each of your turns, choose one forward with that named job. Remove it from the game. And in pre-release, Medeo in chat's best option to get rid of his brother's Jack Garland on the field was to play Jack Garland and call out Job Stranger to get rid of his opponent's Jack Garland at the end of that turn, but at the end of the following turn was going to have to sacrifice his own Job Stranger, which was kind of fantastic. I'm just going to go, Flynn, like, if you as a Scions player, you look at stuff like this and you're like, God, no. Please, no.
As I said, when we were talking about... who was we talking about earlier? Sunday. Was it Sunday?
Yep.
Yeah, Sunday. It's like, yeah, I play Black Mages, the Waltzes. Turns that off. Okay. I run Icons. Turn that off. Okay, Scions. Okay, I've just built Warriors. Okay, what random deck have I got that doesn't do any of this? None. And I'm screwed.
Yeah, and then making himself immune to that job too is just kind of even more of a pain in the butt if you're going against something tribal, Corey.
Yeah. So, getting right to it, if you asked me when this card was revealed, what was my rating? I would have told you 10. Pre-release time, you would have asked me, I would have told you probably 8. You're asking me today, I think I'm down to a 6. I feel like every time I talk about this card, like I
Keep it
initially
up.
was
He'll be
like,
asking for a refund in 2 weeks.
right? I'm gonna get out of my pack, be like, can I get a different legend? But like, every time I started talking about this card at locals, I was like, this card's awesome. It just kills knights. Then they go, what if they just respond to it with Ramza? Like, well,
Yeah.
then you play it when it's dull. They go, then they just play Kuchu Lane. And I go,
Mhm.
okay, well, maybe they don't play that. Like, then they amot the job trigger. I'm like, all right, this card can't do anything.
Yeah, this is another one that's I think very difficult to gauge here. It's kind of like when Sid Randell came out. You were like, that effect is a great effect, but do I want to play that? Do I want to pay for, like, how many decks do I realistically really want to put that in? This is what, but then somebody plays Sid Randell against you, and you're like, well, shit, I am like totally shut down. I really need to draw my answer right now. And I could kind of see this being that, right? Where you're not going to expect to see it all that often. But when you do see it, even if you're not running a tribal deck, you just happen to have a few jobs that overlap. But think about the meta right now, right? Warrior of Light, Warriors, Scions. Like, there are very tribal job-based decks in the meta right now. And when you see this card, you're like, ah, shit, I got to find a way to deal with that really quickly. But your answer, all of a sudden, if you let that effect resolve, isn't going to be found on the cards with those job names on it. So I think it creates a really awkward board state for some very meta decks, even though the card itself isn't super OP in my mind. I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a 7. So I'll go 1 up on you.
All right.
Just because I think it creates that state where you forget things. Like, how many times have you seen somebody play something, a forward, when you had Sid Randell on the field? And you say, oh, yeah, well, that doesn't happen. And they're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Like, I think this can do the same thing, because it's really easy to miss that line of text when you're thinking about having to remove something at the end of the turn. It's really easy to miss that line of text that it can't be chosen by those things.
Yeah.
Flynn, finish it up.
A 7, easy. It's one of those things like you said, Sid Randell, a Charlotte, Zeramus. It's one of those things that you can, if the meta is doing a lot of tribal stuff, and you're just looking, I'm at 49 or 50, what can I chuck in? A single copy of Jack, chuck on field. If you got an opponent who's a bit stressed that day, maybe you're on round 7 of the day and their brain's a bit fried, you might trigger the misplay that could score you the game.
All right, that's going to do it for the full set. It's time to finish today's show out with our Love It or Leave It. Love It or Leave It is the way we end every episode of the Relic Grind here. It's normally where I give you something Square Enix related, and you tell me whether you love it, want more of it, or leave it, never to be seen again, and there's no fence sitting here. But as we always do with our Legend Review Show, we're going to ask each of our hosts which legend they absolutely love and couldn't do without, and which one they want to leave, never to be picked up and played in a deck of theirs ever. Flynn, we'll have you go first.
For the Love It, I think it's obvious. It has to be Zoralja. And leave it. Based on how I talked about this card at the beginning of the show, screw Zeramus.
Corey, what do you got?
All right. So for me, I know I rated him Zoralja the highest, but I'm actually gonna say my Love It is going to be Idea. The combination of the effect, the art, that's absolutely it. And my Leave It is Vaughn, because let's leave card name Vaughn in the past. We're done with him.
Yeah. Listening to this makes you want to get into FFTCG. Good. That's the point. Do it. Do it. Obviously, I think it would be easy for me to say Love It, Zoralja as well. So I'm going to step aside from that one, kind of like Corey did, and go, the one I really want to see if I can get to pop off meaningfully, because Zoralja, I know how that card works, right? I know where that's going, is Grahatia. I love Grahatia, and I want to see if I can get that to work in a meaningful way. The one that Leave It, I probably will never pick up a single copy to put into a deck of mine. Unless Ghouls comes out with something creative, is going to be the Emperor. We're going to leave the Emperor. I have no desire for that card. That's going to do it for the show here today. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching. No shows next week. It's Thanksgiving week, so we don't have Gaming Gumbo on Tuesday or the Relic Grind here on Thursday. Have a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving, and obviously to my hosts who don't make any money, nor do I, thank you so much for your time, particularly you, Flynn, doing this week in and week out with Tark. It is much appreciated. I give thanks for people that are dorky enough like me to come and do stuff like this. Until our next show the week after, Flynn, where can everybody find you?
You can find me telling Doc, there's new starter decks. Pick one up, get to your local game store, play some cards. Other than that, find me over on Twitch up in Crisis. And yeah, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks, where if you... the crazy numbers for our next show, if you watched this show once a week, it will now take you for our next show to catch up 3 years of weekly shows to get there.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. That's kind of ridiculous. Corey, where can everybody find you, my friend?
Yeah, so I stream on Twitch under Zik3. Like I said before, I do various things of playthroughs and challenge runs and speed runs. I'm going to be preparing for my speed run of Momodora Moonlit Farewell for Awesome Games Done Quick in Pittsburgh coming up soon. But I also have a YouTube channel under the same name, and I also make Final Fantasy TCG content if you haven't had enough under Zik Cards. So that's where you can find me.
Go check it out. Wonderful friend, wonderful person to play FFTCG with, and another wonderful content creator in the space. I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at MagicMan1, but more importantly, follow at RC Raideo, Raideo, and you'll know every time we're going live with a podcast, any of our streamers, or our Monday nights Final Fantasy TCG live local gameplay. Until next time, gang, happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Later.